everyone, and welcome to Bits and Bytes online discussions to bring our audience, listeners, actual, real experiences and expertise from the ground to help decision makers, innovators, and the public in general to inform them how to make their decisions and solutions related to education more inclusive. This is brought to you by Layertech Labs, Kaisipan Incorporated, and Bicol University College of Science. Okay. I'm Frey from Layertech Labs. I work as a project manager and sometimes I work as a consultant on data analytics and intelligence, on optimization and tech deployment in government and private organizations. And so I will be moderating the discussion for today. So for today, we invited a very special guest. We have a student who will share with us his experiences in the e-learning setup. We also have a panel of experts who will share with us their experiences, tips, tricks on how to make our e-learning experience more effective. By the way, we have students, educators, and government workers. We have CSOs, and we also have people from the private sector who registered. So thank you very much for your interest. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guests. So first, to share his first-hand experiences, challenges, and how he copes with e-learning, we have Mr. Cyrus Christian Lee. Cyrus, right? Yeah. So he's a third-year BS Biology student from Bicol University. He is the College Student Council Vice President for Education. So thank you very much for having for being with us today, Cyrus. Yeah. And next, we also have Dr. Marivic Luwalhati. She is Kaisipan BOD and CEO of Beyond Medical Hub. She authored papers on quality improvement and customer relations, and she carries more than 2 decades of HR training expertise. Thank you very much for being with us, ma'am. Actually, Ma'am Luwalhati is still not here, but she will be coming in after, in a few minutes. So thank you in advance, ma'am. So we also have with us today Miss Nina Estudillo. She is a productivity consultant and advocate with 27 years of work experience. She served as the director of Institute of Productivity and Quality, IPQ, of the Development Academy of the Philippines. Thank you very much for being with us today, Ma'am Nina. And so we also have Miss Jashelle K. Torres. Am I pronouncing it right? Jashelle K. Torres. She's a Kaisipan Fellow and a young educator specializing in English. She has international pre-service training experience. She went to Vietnam in 2019 as a volunteer to teach children English. So we're very happy to have you here, Ma'am Jashelle. And last but not the least, we have Dr. Lani Maceda. She is a Kaisipan Fellow and Associate Professor at Bicol University College of Science. Actually, Ma'am Lani and I work together in many data-related research projects, and I can definitely see how passionate she is with ICT research and how it can help the community. So welcome again, Ma'am Lani. And all right, so I will not drag this for too long. First, we will hear from Ma'am Nina to introduce us social emotional learning. So, Ma'am Nina, now that we have a lot of challenges in our e-learning setup in the country, we see a lot of students having difficulties coping with this setup, right? So what exactly is social emotional learning, and how do you think it can help students and educators face today's challenges?
Okay, thank you very much, Frey. Good morning to everyone. At this time, I just would like to thank the organizers. This is a very good opportunity really to share each other's learning experiences. I'm not really an expert on social emotional learning. Let's just say that I am in the process. I'm also learning being a parent of a senior high school student and also having been a teacher of high school students. So I actually have this interest has evolved, and also my considering that my background is really on productivity and quality, I realized that the learning learning of our students, the learning process that they go through, is really has a lot to do with productivity. So when they are engaged, when they are fully engaged in the learning and teaching and learning processes, they become even more productive, not just academically, but also in terms of how they apply it in their lives. Okay, what is social emotional learning in a nutshell? The social emotional learning is actually a very effective approach in engaging students in teaching and learning processes. The engagement, by the way, just very briefly, engagement is one of the three key components of the Universal Design for Learning framework, which has been introduced by the Center for Applied Social Technology. There are three components: engagement, representation, action, and action. But based on my research and also my experience, engagement actually cuts across all the other key components. So for me, it's really very important to build a positive and supportive culture for learning, whether it's in a digital space or face-to-face. And one of these approaches is the social emotional learning. One of the established organizations or advocate, actually sila ngayon, no, they're at the forefront of promoting social emotional learning. This is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, which is a trusted source for knowledge about high quality, evidence-based social and emotional learning. You can actually visit their website. It's castle.org. Okay, when we talk of social emotional learning, this is an integral part of education and human development. It's a process through which all young people and adults like us acquire and apply the KSA, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Why? For us to develop healthy identities, manage our emotions, achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy for others, and in the process, being able to establish and maintain supportive relationships and making responsible and caring decisions. This is based on, this is actually anchored on the emotional quotient. Remember, I'm sure everybody here is familiar with the EQ introduced to us by Daniel Goleman. In fact, he's very happy to note that his framework has been adopted by practically all schools. For example, the United States, institutionalized in the schools. So it's really a big thing for them to integrate social emotional learning in their teaching and learning processes, especially these days that many of our youths today would often find themselves in a confusing situation. You know, this overthinking concept is quite common among our youth, and it's quite alarming. So for us educators and formators, it's really important to help them out, recognize, just like what SEL or social emotional learning adopts, for them to be able to recognize their strengths, their weaknesses or opportunities for improvement, and in the process understand what they're going through. And hindi po madali yun, no? They need really a strong support system with the family, and of course, no, ang mga teachers, educators, and formators. Okay? And in the process, they are also able, once they're able to understand what they're going through, what they've been through, then it becomes easier for them to empathize, to show empathy and the same care that they must have received from their support system, from their communities, from their parents, from the teachers. Please, by the way, I can be very madaldano. I can talk and go on. Just please feel free to cut me. Okay? So,
It's okay, ma'am.
yeah, okay. So do I still have time? This is just an introduction.
All right.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Nina. We will be hearing more about SEL later. But first, let's hear it from the student himself. Christian, so you are a third-year college student. I'm sure we can still remember our college days and, you know, the struggles of being a student. Now, imagine all of that while in the middle of a pandemic, and all of a sudden, uh, we're shifting to an almost totally digital learning experience, and definitely it's a struggle. So Christian, can you Cyrus so Cyrus, can you walk us through your experiences and tell us the challenges that you've experienced and how you deal with that? So
Thank you very much. Good day to everyone listening to this podcast. I hope all doing well. I hope you can hear me. Am I audible? I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes, you
Let
are.
me, okay, thank you. Let me formally introduce myself. I am Cyrus Christian B Lee. I am 21 years old, a third year college student from Bicol University College of Science, taking up BS in Biology. I am the interim College Student Council President and the Vice President for Education of BU United Nations Educational Scientific Cultural Organization, or BU UNESCO. I am grateful for the opportunity to speak for all of you. I am very much honored to be able to speak alongside with our speakers. So thank you very much. For our digital activities, for the past 5 months, the Council has been active in organizing virtual activities. Last September, we spearheaded the virtual Albay Science and Technology Fair through Zoom and Facebook Live. It was done virtually. We also had campaigns for the Suicide Awareness Month. For BU UNESCO, we have participated in advocacy-based activities like the Digital Pride for our LGBTQIA+ community last June of 2020. And we have partnered with organizations for Teen Talk regarding teenage pregnancy and violence against women and children. We are trying our best to raise awareness for these causes amidst the pandemic. I think that educating the youth during this challenging time is something that we should prioritize. In terms of my personal e-learning experience, it has been 5 months since we have shifted from the traditional face-to-face classes to online classes. We started our semester last August, and now it's December. It's already the end of our semester, and the transition was difficult both to the students and also to our teachers. When we had our synchronous classes, I experienced being disconnected to classes because of poor internet connectivity. Having activities that require expensive gadgets and tools is a struggle I have experienced as well. Being in a place that is conducive for learning is something that people should be grateful for because not everyone has that. Me personally, I don't have that. These are just some of the realities that students experience during this time. Personally, I believe that learning should not stop during this time. It may be difficult now, but with the help from the right people, from your family and your loved ones, it's not impossible. So learning actually is really fun, especially e-learning, because as millennials, as the youth, we are very much well aware of technology and its advancements. But sadly, not everyone has access to it. So in terms of, aside from that, I have also experienced a lot of challenges. I have I was really challenged to comply with the demands of e-learning. I also witnessed the struggles of my classmates who are experiencing the same dilemma. I am from Albay, the province of Albay, Region 5 Bicol, where we were devastated by 4 typhoons in 3 weeks just last month. Thousands of families were displaced and are experiencing no network signal, no electricity, and some of them even lost their gadgets and has no means to attend to online classes. Given the circumstances, it is really difficult for the Albayano students to go back to school. I myself personally experienced traveling 26 kilometers away from where I was living just to have a stable signal reception in order to connect to my classmates, ask my professors. So it was really a struggle. Another challenge that I experienced is actually it affected my mental health. The fear of having COVID-19, the safety of my loved ones, my education, my relationships with my friends, all of these were really running through my mind during the early days of the pandemic. And I'm still experiencing these episodes. I wasn't able to attend to my classes, and it came to a point where I'm not satisfied with the work I put out. But with the help of my family, professors, and my close friends, I was able to overcome this challenge and I came out stronger. So how did I cope up with these challenges? Number one, I think, is really communicate with the teachers and educators. Since both the students and teachers are struggling, it is really important to have an open and transparent communication with each other. You can ask to adjust the deadlines, ask for leniency, and really developing that sense of teamwork and camaraderie will really help to accomplish your tasks. Second, I think at this point, you really have to take care of yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. I did focus on myself and really giving myself time to heal and recover. I realized that self-care isn't selfish. You can contribute more to society. You can be more productive when you yourself is fully healed. Third, I think is being aware of what is happening in our society. With the current state of our educational system right now, um, we need a lot of support from our government. There are things that is beyond our control, but we can do something about it. Let's talk about it. Let's demand for accountability because I think that our voices are important and is strong enough to make a change. Also, I have learned the values of discipline, dedication, sense of responsibility, and resourcefulness. And it is something that I have acquired through this process. And I think we should also teach our youth to develop the same values. So, according to UNESCO, they said that knowledge and learning are humanity's greatest renewable resources for responding to challenges and inventing alternatives. Yet, education doesn't only respond to a changing world, education transforms the world. Thank you very much. Keep safe and God bless.
So much for sharing, Christian. I'm also from Albay, so I'm stuck here ever since the lockdown. And yeah, that's correct. We have had three typhoons just last month in 3 weeks. And if it's extremely difficult for us professionals, then how much more for students, and how much more for students who do not have the resources. So definitely, I salute you and our students and educators who are struggling but still keeping it together despite these difficulties. Ground insights like what you shared, it helps decision makers craft better policies and solutions. So it's really important to listen to the people who experience these things firsthand. Yeah. So another critical voice that we need to hear is the point of view of the teachers who are also struggling in this pandemic learning setting. So next, let's hear it from Dr. Lani Maceda. Ma'am Lani, please do share with us your experience, challenges, and maybe give us advice on how you try to overcome these challenges.
Thank you, Frey. I hope I'm clear. Good day,
Yes, ma'am.
everyone. Thank you. Allow me to share my experiences. I do handle subjects like software engineering, system analysis and design, programming languages, and other computing and IT courses for, I think it's almost about 2.5 decades now. Now, this year, 2020, had actually turned almost so differently on all the usual way we do both inside and outside the classroom because of the pandemic. We cannot deliver anymore the instruction like the traditional face-to-face interaction that we usually do for how many decades. Though on my end, even prior the pandemic, I actually made use already in my classes a learning management system, particularly the Moodle. But the discussions were all done, but still all the discussions were done on a face-to-face interaction. I made use of this platform to post my lectures, my exams, which I usually gave if I give a multiple choice for the purpose of easy checking. But still, the discussions were all made on a face-to-face basis. However, this time, now shifting the paradigm into a blended learning is already a must and not a choice for now. Now, like in my case, I tried to select for the perfect blend in my course, which includes the provision for study and collaborative space. I do meet my classes in both synchronous and asynchronous interaction. But the question is, how did I do it actually? Now, before I started my class, I tried first to check on my student's profile. I uploaded a matrix on the Google Drive and gave access to all my students for them to fill it in. My purpose of doing this is to know the status, especially on the technological aspect and whereabouts of my students, so that I would know how to deal with them accordingly. I tried also to integrate technology tools to build individual pathways among my students so they would feel the sense of belongingness in my class, despite the absence of physical interaction. For instance, with me, I used Mentimeter to let my students express themselves through a hashtag that they want for our course and also how they feel. As icebreaker in class, Kahoot may also be used. Now, with me, I adopted a flexible type of learning, blended learning, wherein I let my students move on a fluid schedules among their learning activities according to their availability and needs. I meet my classes at least once a week for our synchronous interaction, for me to gather and interact with my students in real time and do all my discussions for the topic. I usually started my synchronous class of hi and hello to everyone present, since I observe that the students are also longing for someone to talk to, that is outside of their home. No, true enough that there were little percentage who sometimes could not make it on our live interaction due to their unstable and poor internet connectivity at home. That is why I had given other alternatives for them, like the asynchronous means. Now, with my LMS platform, I made an announcement board. I posted my course guide and all the reading materials I provided, which includes the ebooks and videos. Now, our housekeeping, which I discussed in my class during our Getting to Know You meeting, was also posted so that everyone will be reminded of our class terms and agreements. Now, for the discussion, what I did is, at the start of class, I already posted all the topics covered for the duration until midterm period. And right after my midterm exam, I also posted all the topics covered until the final term. Now, my purpose of doing this is that since some of my students may finish the lesson ahead of time, they may opt to have an advanced reading then. Now, for each topic, I have a discussion board and e-portfolio. I usually post one question on the discussion board for my students' individual participation in class. I also want to know their key takeaway on each topic I discussed and presented, which they normally post in the e-portfolio. They can work and do the submissions depending on their preferred time. Now, these activities is being done on a weekly basis only so that they will not feel overwhelmed of the coursework. Now, what is good in here is you could give the students scores and rating on each coursework that they submit. Now, in this way, I could at least assess already on the learnings of my students. Now, my major exam link is also found on my LMS, which I made available for a specific day and for instance, for like 2 hours or a little more. So far, that is how I delivered my instructional strategy as of this time.
Thank you very much for sharing, Ma'am Lani. Actually, I've received a lot of messages of questions already about the details that you've shared. So I'm definitely taking notes and I'll be sending it to the panelists after this. So thank you for that, Ma'am Lani. Now that we've heard it straight from our guests, I'd like to go back to Ma'am Nina to tell us more about social emotional learning in today's learning context. So, Ma'am Nina?
Okay, hello, Frey. I've been listening to Cyrus and Ma'am Lani, the very interesting insights. In fact, they are already consciously or unconsciously, they have created and are in the process of creating their own social emotional learning stories. With Cyrus, I appreciate how he shared with us his experience, the struggles with having this online learning, and then having to go through the devastation of tatlong bagyo yun eh, no? Quinta, Rolly, and Ulysses. And yet, he was able to, pick up the pieces. And then, as I was listening to him, I found Cyrus to be very confident, no? And this is something really positive, no? That he can also share with those others who may have been through or still going through same struggles. So this is one of the key components of emotional learning. It's it's really about how one is able to recognize and being grounded what he or she has been through, and at the same time having been able to survive and adopt certain personal techniques. Probably si Cyrus have been also into a lot of reflection, because that's also what social emotional learning is all about, no? And then Ma'am Lani introduced to us some very effective tools in creating the culture of positivity, which is really very much in line with or aligned with the social emotional learning approach. So she mentioned about how she would start the day with the students, asking them how they are, and meeting them synchronously and asynchronously. It's really accompanying them, the students, how they're going through. And this is one of the effective ways that a teacher or a formator can do to the students. And social emotional learning is really not just about on the emotion. In fact, that's why I have been, let's put it this way, I have been so much attracted, no? I've been so much drawn into this SEL, although my background, as Frey has mentioned a while ago, for almost 2 decades, I've been into productivity and quality improvement, helping organizations in both public and private sectors move up in terms of performance excellence. But one thing really that struck me when I attended this online course together with Ma'am Lani, this has been sponsored by, of course, Kaisipan through the Institute, is the Institute of, okay, sorry, nagtalbak ako. Mamaya I'll get back to you, no? This is something about technology and education, okay? And most of the tools that were mentioned by Ma'am Lani are actually also being adopted in different education sectors. And these are really effective that you can also try out, especially our teachers who are now with us, because it puts a balance between the cognitive and the emotional aspect, no? Like what I mentioned a while ago, when we adopt the social emotional learning approach, we make sure that we provide guidance, we help our students be able to apply what they're learning in their academic subjects, how they're going to actually apply it in real life situations. Okay, so how are these principles that they learn from their academic subjects be applied in the how for example they respond, how they react, for example, to some depressing moments, because you know that there are 5 core emotions: happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, and anger. So if you have watched this popular movie from Hollywood, this Inside Out, so this is actually based on the emotional intelligence by Mr. Daniel Goleman, which is where actually SEL, social emotional learning, is aimed at. All right. So for some schools, they integrate personal development subject in their academic curriculum, and this is where the students have the opportunities to really go through this learning experience of understanding the emotions that they go through, that it is just normal to feel, disgusted, to feel depressed, to feel sad rather, and to feel angry, to have fear, and of course to be happy. And in the process, kaya it's critical for the formator, for the educator, to also have is our own self-awareness, because we cannot give what we don't have. Like what I said, I am also in the process of really having the mastery of appreciating and really applying it in practice what social emotional learning is. So for you, for everyone out there, I encourage you. You can create your own SEL stories. So like what Cyrus shared with us earlier, and Ma'am Lani, maybe we can bring all these stories together and help out those people out there, not only students, but even people in the industry. They also go through a lot of these emotional highs and lows. No? So I think siguro Price that would be all for now, but I am encouraging everyone, inviting everyone later on if you do have questions, if you would like to share your insights on SEL, because for sure, consciously or unconsciously, you are creating your own social emotional learning stories. Okay, Fries?
Thank you very much for that, Ma'am Nina. Actually, I'm also doing online learning for graduate studies, so I'm taking notes, and I might try that as well for myself. So thank you very much for that, Ma'am Nina. Before we go back, before we go to our next speaker, I would like to go back to Ma'am Lani, because Ma'am Lani will share additional, some of the challenges that she've experienced from the ground. So, Ma'am Lani, please.
Okay. Now I just want to share the challenges that we face in this paradigm shift. Now we know that both the students and our teachers also faces various challenges on how to survive and go through this school year until such time that we might be back to normal. But as to when, everyone actually doesn't know yet. Now, the biggest challenge, I think, on my case is in terms of internet connectivity, since we all know that we are frequently visited by typhoon. Now, as to the delivery of discussion or as to the delivery of instruction, another challenge I encountered is how to deliver my group project with system design and development requirement. However, despite this situation, I still tried to manage to make a group project or a group work. I discussed my project timeline for the entire SEM and posted the same to our learning space. Now, I provided my students an interaction with their classmates through the group project I had given them. Some made use of Messenger, FB groups, some use project management tools like Microsoft OneNote Online and Trello. I also provided a breakout rooms for them. Now, I usually set a date as part of our synchronous class for my students to present their output, and I outright give a feedback. Now, as to my students' feedback, aside from the giving them grades, which is the normal course for a teacher, I may say, I am also happy to note that most of them who has concern in class sent messages to me via Messenger, and I actually responded them accordingly. Now, as a faculty, how did we actually cope, or even with me, how did I cope with these challenges? I think as faculty, be in IT field or not, now let us help each one. We can share information, we can gather input, and let us discuss and connect. Now with this, as teacher, we can be a conduit for insight and input to monitor and respond on the possible needs of our students. We can help build the community, especially even among our colleagues and to our students as well, who need to support each one another. Now, we need to support each one in this time of crisis, and let us also keep an eye on our own mental health, of our colleague, and of our students. That's it, Frey. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing, Ma'am Lani. So we have a lot of questions coming in now. Unfortunately, we won't be able to answer that today, but we will definitely do so in the next episode, and we will send you the panelists' answers on these things. Anyway, so thank you, Ma'am Lani and Ma'am Nina. Now, from what has been shared so far, we can really see the critical role that technology plays in this setting. And I would say survival even. I was asked by Dr. BB to share a bit on our next topic. So before I go to Dr. Luwalhati, I would like to share a bit on digital solutions to address challenges in e-learning. Actually, Layertech Labs, we deal a lot with e-learning, and we deploy learning materials, learning games for free. Most of them are for free, to supplement students' learnings and to fill the gap in the demands for the new normal, quote unquote. So we see increase in demand for programming skills, telemedicine, online transactions, digital operations management, etc. And these things can get pretty expensive and inaccessible to those with no resources or no initial capacity. So how do we capacitate students and young workers for these demands? In our case, so for Layertech, we offer free educational mobile games. So you can go to Google Play and check out just search for Layertech Software Labs, and we have a lot of games that you'd enjoy, and at the same time build your skills in coding. So we have a lot of those things, and most of them are for free. And we also have e-learning courses that feel like games. So it is a learning course, but it's a model designed to look like a game, to engage kids. And then we also facilitate training and certifications in partnership with different organizations, schools, and universities. And echoing Cyrus before, so I think more than ever, it's really important to reach out and collaborate with different institutions so that we can amplify our advocacy efforts for inclusive learning and inclusive access to technology. So that said, I'd like to go now to Dr. Luwalhati, Ma'am Marivic, to share with us her thoughts on how digital solutions can address these challenges in the e-learning space. Ma'am?
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I was excited. I thought that the meet was for yesterday. So thank you, Frey, for responding to my text message yesterday. But really, as I was listening, it's really regardless of regions, of country, we cannot deny the fact that we live in a VUCA world. And that is something that I want us to retain. If there's something that, there are a lot of things that I would say, there would be three things or three words that I want us to remember. First, we are living in a VUCA world. Years ago, when I was still with Metro Pacific, that was like 12 years ago, we were already talking about the VUCA world, meaning our world is full of volatility, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of complexity and ambiguity. But this recent pandemic blew it all in terms of the VUCA world. There is a lot of challenges that we face, especially in the educational sector. I am a professor myself, and when I teach, especially in the graduate school, in Masters in Hospital Administration and PhD, the interaction between me and the students have somehow differed. But given that, I think without the digital mindset, we cannot be digitally literate. We need to be digitally literate because we need the skills to live, to learn, and to work in this VUCA world where access for information, communication through digital technologies is actually a great need. I would always say that we determine the daily survival or our success based on how we think. As Nina was saying, we work on our emotional, our EQ, we work towards our AQ, which is our ability, agility quotient. But with all these things happening around us, I'd like to encourage everyone by saying that bad things don't last. And a while ago, I was listening and having to go through three typhoons and then bouncing back. That's a lot of resiliency, to which my hats off goes to all of you. So the digital mindset is a big part of the digital solution in this challenging world. Having first a digital mindset is not just about using technology, but it is more of looking at how we operate in our communities, in our schools, with enthusiasm, with passion, using technology. As I mentioned, it is a need, a requirement for sustainability, connectivity, and efficiency, especially as professors or especially in the educational sector. You know, some years ago, some people will say, I'm a digital native. I don't know that. But now, it cannot be the norm. But for us to be able, especially in the educational sector, to be at par even amidst this pandemic, we need to revolutionize our teaching methodology, the way we interact. We need to ensure that learning is accessible, and as you said, it can be costly. That's why we need to make means on how it can be affordable, interactive, and effective. It needs to be fun also, to be motivating. Because in the midst of all these challenges, one thing about the Filipinos, we are resilient. And in our resiliency, part of that is carrying a joyful heart. Sometimes, even during the storm or a typhoon, we can find something to smile about. That's how we are as Filipinos. The digital solutions to the challenging VUCA world begins, as I mentioned, with our digital mindset. Lahat mahirap or imposible, some would say that. And that is a reflection of someone who has fixed digital mindset. But we can transform that mindset if we want to continue to embrace that digital solution is what we need in this challenging time. How do we transform that? By acknowledging that mahirap, may gastos, but you know what? We can do it. As a professor, just like our colleagues, we need to deliberately enhance a culture of innovation. We need to be more creative. As I was listening a while ago with Lani, you need to be creative, and I hats off to you, Lani, on that. In instituting collaboration or for cross-institution collaborations, such as this with Kaisipan and, of course, Layertech. At the end, we just have to connect with each other. Our students with multimedia platform, let us encourage them to expand their borders and inculcate the values of personalized learning, but not forgetting an active and social interaction. This makes digital learning fun amidst the challenging scenario. My hope is that we will have a digital growth mindset, believing that resources are available, but we need to actively search for it. In Kaisipan, we actually initiated partnership with some state universities, colleges, and even gave a masterclass scholarship because we want to reach out, we want to be part of the learning experience in this new challenging situation. We believe that digital growth mindset shall foster progress and innovation in the community. Lastly, in today's landscape, we need to accede to the new norm. This is already our new norm. And be comfortable in our VUCA world. There are some 4 steps that I would like to share with you. First, Digital solution means taking risk and exploring by using technology. It's like traveling. You explore every nook and cranny. You try to research. Second, be open to learning and collaboration. Be connected. Together, as we learn, the learnings become richer. The third one is we need to be respectful of diverse perspective. I always tell this to my students. Let us agree to disagree. Challenge what we read. Challenge what we see in the internet. What we hear. Because that makes learning more meaningful and develop our critical thinking. You see, everything is the internet, and it's very easy, it's very tempting for us to say, oh, I will just read it because they've done the research. But challenge it, because by doing that way, then we know that even if one or two gurus have already given that certain principle, that solution, that suggestion, we need to still challenge that. And by doing so, we will be able to connect locally, globally, write something about that. The digital era will switch contexts between global and local. And lastly, let digital solution allow us not only to connect through technology, but to connect through ideas. We build connections, build communities, build on with our colleagues. And I would like to end this by saying that this is the era of digital connectivity, of digital literacy, and we have to have it in our hearts to know that our success, whether as a student or as a professor or as an academician, is not about now proving ourselves or validating ourselves or measuring our intelligence. Success is a continuing motivations to stretch ourselves, reinventing ourselves, and be the best version of ourselves, and acknowledging that digital solution is what we need in these challenging times, especially now, not only here in the Philippines, but worldwide. So thank you, Frey.
Thank you, Ma'am Marivic, for that. You know, really, I like how Ma'am Marivic emphasized the need for critical thinking. With all the technology, we have a lot of information, and the challenge is how to filter them. You know, how to recognize what's fake, what's genuine, what's legitimate information. And definitely critical thinking is needed now more than ever. And also, while technology can really help you, it can also be we have to be very careful in deploying it, especially to marginalized communities, because it can also widen the gap. So we have to be very sensitive of that. So thank you for that, Ma'am Marivic. So now we will go back to the point of view of a young educator. So after hearing all of that, Miss Giselle Kate, can you please walk us through your experience as an educator and share us your expertise and maybe advice? So yes, off to you.
So, hello, can you hear me, my friends?
Yes.
Okay, so again, my name is Kate, and I am a very young educator because I am still 22 years old from Silangan National High School, the Pitan City Division. So yeah, I also have this is very it is a very advantageous for me to be a very young educator because my interest for using technology in my teaching learning process is still very high because I grew up in this digital world. We use this we already use computers, laptops, and other gadgets during when I was still in college. So yeah, I also experienced being disconnected with my teacher before, but during my college days, I met a really good professor that he really connect with us as students. So it is not difficult for us to learn his subject because she is engaging with the students. So what I learned, what favorite part I learned from ISTE is the universal design for learning. So this was mentioned by Ma'am Nina earlier, because this UDL also has a part of social and emotional learning, I guess. So yeah, digital universal design for learning by CAST is a really good help because it focuses on accessibility and challenge for all students. This is a framework to improve and optimize teaching and learning for all people based on scientific insights into how humans learn. So in traditional, in blended, or fully online. I have in my Re-Echo seminar before, last November 6th, I asked all the teachers in my division, I mean not all, but most of the teachers in my division, the challenges. So what are usual challenges they encounter right now in this pandemic situation and the online learning of the students? Because it is new to them. It is, especially in public schools, it is very new to them to use these kind of gadgets like laptops and cell phones using Zooms, Messenger. Some of the students don't have the access. They don't have money to buy cell phones. So this is very new to them. So I asked them, what are the challenges, the usual challenges? They said that unstable connection, of course, because in the Philippines we have really low internet connection, and also some of them said that the parent support, because of course some parents have difficulty in providing this kind of gadgets to their children because maybe they are having difficulty in financial needs like that, and also some of the motivations are the current situation, this pandemic. Some parents and some students don't have the money to even buy load or something, and the communication gap, because especially now that we cannot see them face to face, there is a really big communication gap, and also students' interest. It is difficult to get the students' interest because you cannot ask or talk to them directly. The language barrier, the lack of motivation, individual differences. These are also challenges. These in this situation. So, the UDL will help you, especially if you are an educator. UDL is a very great help because it focuses on engagement, representation, action, and expression. So, engagement. This is the why of learning. So this was actually mentioned earlier by Ma'am Nina. So you have to get the students' interest and motivation, and of course the self-regulation. So information that do not attract the students will be inaccessible. So even though you are in online learning, you have to make the students interested to your lessons. So how will you make them interested? So of course you have to make interesting presentations or make interesting questions that they will answer, or that is relatable to them, so that they will be interested to you. And also self-regulation. You have to also help them develop their self-regulation, because especially these days, a lot of students are becoming sad and depressed. I guess we can see it all around our news feed that a lot of students are depressed and they don't have they don't know how to cope up with their emotions during these days. So in engagement, it is not just about the lesson and about this is not just about your lesson and what they have to learn, but this is also about engaging with them or making relationship, not the different relationship, but making relationship with your students. So you have to connect to them. So in engagement, in the last part I mentioned earlier, the self-regulation. So you have to if it is possible, you have to collect a student's profile to get to know more about them, to be able to understand them. So how are they doing in their houses? Because you cannot see them face to face, right? So you have to make a way to engage with your students. You have to make a way to connect to them. Maybe you can use the messenger, because this is the most popular tool right now. So messenger, the most accessible, because we have free Facebook. We can make it, maybe we can use that. And also the parents, in our case, in our school, we use modules in our learning, because some of the students don't have access. I mean, most of the students don't have access to internet, so we have to use the modules. And then only the parents will go and get their modules and return them. So you also have to make to connect with the parents. So it's not just about your student. You have to also connect with the parents. And of course, you do not forget about yourself. You have to also take care of yourself. So you have to make time. So when to do this, and when to check modules, when to communicate with your students. You have to make a schedule. So engagement is really important nowadays, because it is different. Because it is difficult to connect to them right now. So you have to really think of a way. Use some tools that I mentioned earlier, Messenger. Maybe some of them are Zoom, or you can relay a message to the parents who are going to the parents who goes to your school and get your modules. You can ask them how is for example, Chloe, how is Chloe doing with her modules, like that. So aside from engagement, UDL also talks about the representation. So of course it is difficult, because it's difficult to make to teach now, because it is only for modules and online. So you have to also provide information that is adjustable, or provide some information through different modalities. And lastly, the action and expression. So for action and expression, so learners have different ways in expressing what they already know. So if you have only modules, then maybe you can talk to them on how they want to present their answers. So for example, for language learners, because for me, I am an English major, so for some language learners, my language learners, some of them prefer written text rather than doing a speech. So I will not have to tell them to all of them to give me a speech activity. So yeah, you have to give them choice, but choice that is not only preferable to them, but a choice that is that both of you are agreeing with. So yeah, so UDL. So that's what I think. That is my favorite part of the EST program, the summer academy program, the UDL, because this is really helpful as also for me as a public school teacher. I use this framework in my teaching and learning right now, in using modulars and connecting with the students through online. So yeah, that's it, Manfred.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Miss Kate. Kate na lang. So thank you very much. But I think, yeah, so we have Ma'am Marivic will comment on that, and then followed by Ma'am Nina. So Ma'am Marivic, please go ahead.
Okay, as I was listening to Kate, she exemplifies what I was saying about an individual with a digital mindset. She understands the power of technology to democratize, scale, and speed up every form of interaction and action. And I'm just really blessed that her choice is to go through the digital learning path and respond with enthusiasm no matter what the learning risks are. Because at this time, a growth mindset is something that most of us should have. And this is something that we should mirror to our students. A growth mindset is basically focused on thinking about learning, the challenges, and confronting obstacles. It's about thinking about effort as a positive, constructive force and not a big drag. And that's exactly how I was, when I was listening to Kate. That's how I envisioned how she was doing things. So thank you, Kate, that you have people like you who seems to see this as a journey, as a learning path, and responding with a lot of hope in the pursuit of education, because truly this is a healthy pursuit of our life goals. So most of all, the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there seemed no hope at all. But hearing Kate speak about it, trying to expand her borders, trying to see whatever means she can get just to interact, connect with her students. That's something that I would say is something that we needs emulating. So thank you, Kate, and thank you, Frey.
Okay, thank you, Frey. Just a minute of sharing. One thing that I picked up and share with Kate, with Lani, from the International Society for Technology and Education is that social emotional learning promotes a culture of positivity in both online and face-to-face learning spaces. For areas where internet connectivity remains a challenge, especially for the public schools, those in the remote areas, we can still make use of simple and available technologies, but not to stop exploring, just like what Kate has been doing, exploring that there are other technologies just to make sure that engagement of the students is sustained. Okay, and I think that's about it. So we continue to create our own social emotional learning stories wherever we are, and make an impact on our students so that they also will in turn make a positive impact on others. Thank you very much, Frey.
Yes, thank you very much, Ma'am Marivic and Ma'am Nina, for that. Whew. So, again, I can't thank you all enough for being here. So, thank you very much to our guests, Mr. Cyrus Christian Lee, Ma'am Nina, Ma'am Marivic, Ma'am Lani, and Ma'am Giselle for sharing with us your experience and expertise. Now, I have here just one question for each of you to answer. So the $1,000,000 question, which I think is very important and relevant, and it's dedicated to all the decision makers and innovators listening to us right now. So here's the question. If you could have a say or a suggestion to our local and maybe national decision makers and innovators, what one advice would you give them to improve your experience from the ground or to improve the quality of learning? I'd like to start with reverse tayo with Miss Giselle. So, Miss Giselle, decision makers are listening to you. What advice would you give them?
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
I think my one suggestion to innovators and decision makers is to listen for improve learning experience. Listen to the children, to the learners, and also to the parents, because we don't know their situation. So in making decision makers, in making decisions, we don't just think about what we think is the best, but we also have to listen to their stakeholders or users, because we have to include them to our decision, because we cannot just decide on our own without considering their how can I say this? Yeah, so without considering their situation, yeah. So I think that is just my suggestion. We have to also get their say about our future decisions.
Thank you very much for that, Miss Giselle. Heard you loud and clear. Next, we go to Ma'am Marivic. So, Ma'am Marivic, what one advice would you like to give our decision makers?
They need to collaborate and improve, for heaven's sake, our connectivity, because that's one critical part of this digital solution.
Thank you very much for that, ma'am. I definitely agree. I agree with that. All right. Next, let's go to Ma'am Lani. So, Ma'am Lani, one advice or message for our decision makers.
I actually have the same sentiment with the Dr. Marvick that as part of the academe in the field of computing and IT, I think the government could invest more on the internet connectivity, so that we could connect. This could connect all over the world with no physical interaction needed. Thank you, Frey.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Lani. Now we go to Ma'am Nina. So, Ma'am Nina, decision makers are listening. What one advice will you give them?
Okay, Frey, sorry, I was struggling with my connectivity. But anyway, I strongly echo with what Ma'am Lani said, that the government should really put so much investment in the internet connectivity, because I have seen this in the remote areas. They should be given priority. I also echo what Tony said, Miss Tony Torres articulated in writing, that engage the key stakeholders, the children, the parents, in the strategic planning process at the national level, particularly in beefing up our internet connectivity, so that digital literacy will not just remain a dream for us, really, but it's about time they make it happen. Now na. Thank you very much, Frey.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Nina. And last but not the least, Cyrus. So, Cyrus, decision makers are listening to you. What advice would you like to give them?
I think let's focus on the 3C. It's connect, collaborate with compassion. If we are able to partner with agencies and organizations, we can work together to achieve bigger things, especially in the education sector. We are able to reach out to more people, listen to more stories. In this way, we are able to formulate policies that will push through to inclusive education. In this way, we can improve what must be improved and change what must be changed. And ultimately, I think that the government should invest on the students and the teachers more and prioritize education more. In this way, no student or teacher will be left behind. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Cyrus, to our panelists. So, before I formally close this, do you have anything to announce, advertise, or share with our listeners?
Frey, can I share? Okay. You might be interested to check on on my researches. Currently, I am working on data-driven hazard mapping, since our locality is frequently devastated by typhoons. Now, I am also doing study on data analytics towards procurement processes in the Philippines, and one of which is our study funded by HIVOS and Layertech. I am into machine learning, like natural language processing. Now, my studies were published and indexed at Scopus. You can actually visit it. Now we actually hope to get support on the implementation of some of our findings we made on those researches. Thank you.
Can I plug po?
Ay, sure, go ahead, Cyrus.
Alright. So if there are organizations po interested to conduct activities for the students po, please do not hesitate to reach us on BUCS College Student Council and via UNESCO. We are really open for partnerships and collaboration. Thank you.
Habol lang ako. Yes, in behalf of our team and Miss Tony Torres and Dr. Maria Bibi, please everyone, we invite you to visit Kaisipan website. We would like to share with you learning series. So please do drop a line or two in our Kaisipan timeline, and let's continuously share each other's learnings. That's about it. Thank you. Miss Marivic, you would like to
Highlight.
add? Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
As I was saying, in these challenging times, I actually wrote a book on mindful gratitude. Maybe it can help some of our students and maybe us. It's a discipline of going into journaling, focusing on glad. G is what every day you think of the 3 things that you are grateful for. I like talking to you. This is something I'm grateful for. So just 3 of that. And then L would be for learning. So what did I learn today? I have learned that digital solution is widespread out there, and then there are a lot of endeavors being done. And then A, what did I accomplish today? Having shared with you the concept of digital growth mindset. So, and the D is, what is my direction for tomorrow? Because normally when you're depressed, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There's a sense of helplessness. And I would always say that we as Filipinos were resilient. So we say no to helplessness and no to hopelessness, by being grateful, by having something to learn always and achieve something, no matter how little that is. Those are steps. And the D is, there will always be something that we can do for tomorrow. So thank you, everyone.
So we've heard it from them. Indeed, inclusivity is critical so that we can advance and move forward as a society. You know, as echoing Cyrus' statement before, you know, having people left behind is absolutely not good for the community. That's why it's important that we pay special attention to the learners, you know, who do not have the resources to keep up with their peers. While technology is definitely a great help, we reach out to the innovators, to technologists out there, to decision makers, to have inclusivity in your consciousness when you make your decisions, when you deploy tech solutions to the ground. The only way for us to move forward is to go forward together and to not leave anyone behind. So thank you very much to our guests, our panelists, for the valuable insights and expertise. And we thank you to our listeners. I already received more than 20 questions, and they're adding up. Feedback, which we will address in the next episode. So please keep your questions coming. Or if you have, if you have an experience and you want to share, we'd be happy to have you here. So please do send us a message in our Facebook page. You just look for Layertech Software Labs in Facebook, or Kaisipan Incorporated, or you can email us at learning@layertechlab.com. And before I formally say goodbye, I'd like to announce a Christmas gift that we will be giving out in partnership with Kaisipan. So as you know, Layertech, we have premium e-learning materials, Learn to Code. So we will be giving out free access to our premium Learn to Code courses with certification to selected applicants. We will be posting the mechanics very soon, so please follow our Facebook pages, Layertech Software Labs, Kaisipan Incorporated. We also have LinkedIn, and stay tuned for more opportunities, partnerships, gifts, and possible grants. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Cyrus Christian Lee, Ma'am Nina Estudillo, Dr. Marivic Luwalhati, Ma'am Joshelle K. Torres, and Dr. Lani Maceda. So that ends our first Bits and Bytes online panel. Please stay tuned for the next ones. Have a good day, everyone. Goodbye.